Hi there and welcome to another episode of Edu Talks. My name is Eduardo Zaidenthal, most known as Edu. I'm an educator. I worked in the last 15 years with education of leaders in large corporations, in startups, in NGOs, also in communities, being part of IPAV, NGO in Portugal with the Ubuntu Leaders Academy program, and also creating content. As Edu Talks is an example of this. I have a program in Portuguese called Coffee with Edu that I run for 7 years now. And I also have a book published in Portuguese and in English, so check out my website, download it for free. It talks about the roots of self-entrepreneurship, a discourse that I've been developing. So welcome, and today's episode is the 5 stages of Ubuntu leadership. Last episode I talked about Ubuntu leadership. What is it? It's a journey. It's a learning journey, an eternal learning journey, because it never ends. We're here to become a human being in relationship with other human beings. That's the process of Ubuntu. Together with John from Australia, Bob Dunham from US, Rui Marques from Portugal and the IPAV organization, and many other people and inspirations that I've been relating to in these last few years. We have been developing a methodology on Ubuntu leadership. And one of the inspirations here of the journey is that it's an eternal journey, but we see patterns. We see things happening all the time as I coach leaders and teams in corporations, in organizations. I see patterns and identifying these patterns and understanding where the leader is and where the leader wants to go and what are the challenges, what are the edges, what are the learning opportunities that there is in that stage is critical. So we identified 5 stages. I'll name them. First stage is awakening. Second stage is discovery. Third stage is seeding. Fourth stage is growing. And fifth stage is cultivating. And why those names? Because there is a metaphor that we use in relationship with nature, with planting, with agriculture. It's the process of awakening, discovering what you want to plant or nurture, and then seeding, and then growing, and then cultivating, and then it comes back again. So it's a beautiful journey, and there are patterns in each one of those stages. So for instance, I'll give you some examples. One is awakening. Sometimes we live in blindness. We live in automatic mode where we're living our lives, but we're not seeing things. We're not noticing. We're not paying attention. And we are caught in breakdowns. Things are happening to us, breakdowns are happening, but we're in that vicious cycle. At a certain point, you awake. You awake either by your choice, by choosing to awake, or certain breakdowns happen in your life to wake you up. Then you go to the discovery stage. The discovery stage, I think one of the key questions that happen is, yes, I'm awake, but where should I go? Why? In which direction should I go? Am I crazy to be thinking about this? So these are questions that are really usual in this stage. Third stage, seeding. So once you understand the direction, or at least you have a sense of it, you start seeding, because the only way to know is to practice, is to put in action. So seeding is a great process because you need to start certain initiatives, certain seeds. Some of them will grow, some of them won't, and that's okay, that's part of the process. And in this stage, certain questions like, how should I do this? How should I go in this direction? And with whom? In partnership, alone, in networks, with a formal organization, many questions in this stage also. Then we go to the growing stage, when our seeds started growing and we're growing the plants. And in this stage, the common thing is the growth pains. So losing control, for example, is a pain. Delegation, complexity is increasing, needs for structure and processes. At the same time, you need to be flexible, be adaptive. A lot of polarities happen in this stage. Then, last but not least, because it goes back again, fifth stage is cultivating, where at that point you harvest. You either harvest something that you consider, you assess positively, but also maybe it didn't work out, it didn't bring the outcomes that you wanted, and you learn. So you harvest anyway, because either the fruits or the learnings. And the learnings, both of them. But there is a common question in the fifth stage that it's beautiful, that is, but why did I start all this at the first place? And then the cycle comes back again. So the leadership cycle of Ubuntu leadership cycle is a 5 stages, eternal. And then you say, but you go back again? Yeah, you go back again, but in recurrence, including and transcending. If you go back again, you're a different observer. You're a different person in the sense that you already are seeing things that in the last time that you were there, you didn't see. So that's the beautiful journey of learning, that it's applied to your life, to your business, to your day-to-day, with your family, with your friends, at work, with your body. That's why I love this concept. I love this discourse. I've been working a lot with a lot of people, and I hope you join us. Ubuntu Leadership, 5 stages. Take a look at your life on a daily basis and reflect on which stage do you find yourself right now? In awakening, discovery, seeding, growing, or cultivating? See you next week. Bye-bye.